The government says Hong Kong e-toll has improved traffic flow at Cross Harbour Tunnel. And Singapore businesses cherish competition between Hong Kong and the Lion City. Typhoon Doksuri had landed and it brought severe weather to Fujian province in East China, including heavy rainstorm and landslides. Some high-speed rail trains traveling between Hong Kong and the mainland have to be cancelled due to the weather across the border. Mimosa Nai tells us more.
This is Fujian, which has turned into a waterlogged province after Typhoon Doksuri swept across the region. Doksuri's impact extends to surrounding areas. In Hong Kong, the high-speed rail service between the city and several mainland places is also affected. Some trains from West Kowloon to Shenzhen North and Xiamen were cancelled. Some services, such as the southbound one from Fuzhou to West Kowloon Station, are expected to be delayed for 4 hours. This passenger needs to return to Fujian and is frustrated after experiencing 2 train cancellations. The first one was yesterday. She added she had not received any notifications regarding the affected service. MTR said affected travelers can get a refund on their tickets within a month. They can go to the 12306 China Railway website or the help desk at West Kowloon Station. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
The free-flowing toll system Hong Kong e-toll has been implemented at the Cross Harbour Tunnel for almost a week. The Transport Department said traffic flow has improved, even though the number of vehicles using the tunnel has increased. Mimosa Nai again.
The Cross Harbour Tunnel has always been the busiest road tunnel in the city. Over 100,000 vehicles pass through the tunnel each day before the implementation of auto toll. According to the Transport Department, 2,000 more vehicles are using the Cross Harbour Tunnel daily under the new toll system. However, flow traffic is even faster there. Commissioner for Transport Rosanna Law believes the relatively smooth traffic situation is due to drivers' adaptiveness of the free-flow toll system. Starting from August 2nd, when the ownership of West Harbour Crossing will return to the government, the 633 fixed toll scheme will be launched for all 3 of the city's Cross Harbour road tunnels. Under the scheme, the set toll fee for private cars passing through the West Harbour Crossing will be $60, and the fees for Cross Harbour Tunnel and the Eastern Harbour Crossing will be $30.
633 fixed toll is a transitional arrangement. The actual impact will come when the time-varying toll is introduced and implemented. With the 633 fixed toll, the taxi toll would also be adjusted such that all the tunnels and at all times, taxi usage would only be causing a total of $25. For this, I believe the pattern of driving and also the choice of routes of motorists would be different from now.
To monitor those changes, law said authorities require some time before deciding the dates of the implementation of time-varying tolls. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
The government will launch the Chronic Disease Co-Care Pilot Scheme around November. Under the scheme, residents aged 45 or above will receive subsidies for hypertension or diabetes screenings. Eligible citizens only need to pay $120 for such screenings at private clinics after undergoing preliminary assessments at district health centers. If they are diagnosed with hypertension or diabetes, the government will subsidize $160 for each consultation session. A maximum of 6 sessions will be subsidized, and there is an extra $100 allowance for medication each quarter. Undersecretary for Health Libby Lee said the scheme might be extended to other chronic illnesses, including hepatitis. The Hong Kong Samaritan befriender said the number of suicide cases in the city has reached the highest in the past 15 years. The organization said 1,080 suicide cases were recorded last year, the highest since 2007. Among them, 40% were people aged 60 or above. The organization said the pandemic could have been one of the reasons. The group urges people in need to ask for professional help from doctors and social workers. Chief Executive John Lee just wrapped up his week-long ASEAN trip and returned to the SAR from Malaysia today. Singapore was the first leg of the city's leader's 3-country tour. TVB News spoke with the Singapore Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong on what that could mean to both cities in terms of the possibilities of collaboration and contention. Hong Kong and Singapore, often seen as a battle of the two Asian tigers, with Singapore chosen as a first stop of Chief Executive John Lee's ASEAN trip. Does this mark a change of tune and positioning between Hong Kong and Singapore? Basil Huang, Vice Chairman of the Singapore Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, said the Lion City has outshone Hong Kong in trawling talent and attracting investment, at least in recent years.
The biggest challenge for Hong Kong as China's international financial center is maintaining its relevance. ASEAN businesses, Malaysians, Indonesians, many of them are quite comfortable just going directly to invest in China or trading with China. So why Hong Kong? And I think that's the question.
It's been years that the Hong Kong-Singapore rivalry has been spotlighted by the media. Should the two regions redefine or pivot away from such a narrative?
Over the longer term, the only certainty with respect to who benefits and who's going to grow more and who's going to win in that race is that in a two-horse race for Asia's international financial center, the winner will alternate. It will always go back and forth between Singapore and Hong Kong.
Having worked in Hong Kong as a lawyer for 2 decades, Huang said he has faith in the city's future.
Hong Kong is clearly going through a transition right now. I think it's in the nature of Hong Kong to bounce back, and I think Hong Kong will recover.
Basil Huang also said John Lee's administration has been more proactive than the previous ones in addressing the needs of chambers of commerce from different countries, including Singapore. Assistance offered include helping them to open bank accounts on the mainland. As Chief Executive John Lee ended his ASEAN trip in Malaysia today, some e-commerce platform operators said Malaysia is a good gateway for Hong Kong businesses to enter the ASEAN market. Shopee, the Malaysian version of Taobao, and Lazada are both popular online shopping platforms in Southeast Asia. Hong Kong businessman Lam Hong Yun extended his e-commerce platform to Malaysia in 2015, selling mainly cosmetics, beauty and health-related products. More than 2,000 Malaysian brands use his platform. He said Malaysia is a good launchpad for bringing such services to other Southeast Asian countries. This as the requirements for accreditation and product packaging in Malaysia align closely with other ASEAN countries and can be resold to other markets more easily. Still ahead, the U.S. approves new military aid to Taiwan. Food supply a top issue in summit between Russia and African countries. Welcome back. The United States unveiled a weapons aid package for Taiwan worth up to $345 million on Friday. Beijing reiterated its stern opposition to any military links between Washington and Taipei. Tracy Furness reports.
Prior to the White House's announcement of the $345 million worth of military aid to Taiwan on Friday, the U.S. Congress authorized in the 2023 budget up to $1 billion worth of Presidential Drawdown Authority weapons aid for Taiwan. These are weapons and services that can be speedily delivered from the Department of Defense's stocks to respond to unforeseen emergencies. The White House's announcement said the package would include defense education and training for Taiwan. According to 2 anonymous U.S. officials, Washington will send man-portable air defense systems, intelligence and surveillance capabilities, firearms and missiles. China's ambassador to the U.S. stressed Washington should stop military links to Taiwan and arms sales to the island, and also stop creating cross-straits tension. But Taiwan's trade office in Washington said the U.S. decision will provide an important tool to support Taiwan's self-defense. In a statement, Taiwan pledged to work with the United States to maintain peace, stability and the status quo across the Taiwan Straits. This package is in addition to nearly $19 billion in military sales of F-16s and other weapons that the U.S. approved for Taiwan earlier. But delivery of these weapons were hampered by supply chain issues due to the COVID pandemic and more recently Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Russia continued its attack on Ukraine just as it's making efforts on the diplomatic front to win support. A residential building in the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro has been hit by a missile strike. 9 people were injured. Meantime, Vladimir Putin concluded talks with African leaders as he tries to gain more support for his war. David Garrett reports.
The aftermath of a missile strike on a block of flats in eastern Ukraine. A security service building was the Russian target. The residence was mostly empty. It had just been completed, but neighbors witnessed the damage. In St. Petersburg, Russian President Vladimir Putin was centre stage at a conference with Africa's leaders. Putin set out his reasons for attacking Ukraine. The host told African leaders that Ukraine being drawn into NATO was a red line for Russia. He said when the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine was expected to stay neutral. Africa wants peace in Ukraine. Many in the delegation, including the leader of Congo, told Putin just that. Putin said he would look again at the African-designed peace deal. This deal matters to Africa. They want to see Ukrainian and Russian sovereignty upheld, and more importantly, they want Russia to allow Ukraine to export grain again.
In a way, we feel that we have a right to call for peace because the ongoing conflict, as you heard during the course of the day, also negatively affects us as African countries. Apart from wanting to support a peace process all over the world, this conflict is now directly affecting us as well. As we told you the last time, and as far as food security is concerned, the prices of our fertilizers have gone up.
Russia says it can make up the food shortfall and has offered free grain to 6 African countries. Moscow have not yet provided free wheat to the UN's food programme, which helps 160 million starving people a year. Ukraine's grain is essential in their humanitarian efforts.
One of the reasons why Ukraine has been such an important source for us is the proximity to many of our operations, and that's why 50% of our grain came from Ukraine in 22, and already in 23, 80% of our wheat is coming from Ukraine.
Antony Blinken is on a trip to Australia. The US Secretary of State met with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong. Blinken said both nations urge Russia to stop the weaponization of food.
I just note that over 35 million tons of food products had been exported through the Black Sea Grain Initiative. That's the equivalent of 18 billion loaves of bread, with nearly 2/3 going to the developing world. The decision made by Russia to tear up this agreement is hurting millions who depend on Ukraine's grain and wheat.
Social media images of the moment the missile struck in Dnipro were posted by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The direct impact of the war is seen and felt here, with the knock-on effect suffered in countries as far away as South Africa. David Garrett, TVB News.
Wagner mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin has hailed Niger's military coup as good news. He seemed to be offering his fighter service to the country. A voice message on Telegram said Prigozhin did not claim involvement in the coup. However, he reportedly described it as a moment of long overdue liberation from Western colonizers and made what looked like a pitch for his fighters to help keep order. The voice message was the latest sign that Prigozhin and his men remain active in Africa. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called for the immediate release of ousted Niger President Mohamed Bazoum and the restoration of democratic order in the country. Blinken said the U.S. economic and security partnership with Niger depends on the continuation of the democratic governance. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.